You have to fully surrender that to God and be completely committed and obsessed with that prosperity goal. Because if you don't jump, the risk is that you stay there, and then you're naturally going to fall back into that scarcity mindset.
Welcome, Life in Abundance. We're back at it. We got the new look. I feel like it makes me look like a 10, even though I'm already a 9.8.
Here we go.
Yes. But we got back from a great week down in our experience in Dana Point. We went 4 days of called the Pivot Protocol, where we went a class.
We were in a class.
We went in a deep dive into our yearly goals, and we did also a look back of the year, which was pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So what was the big takeaways for you there, babe?
Yeah, well, first of all, to be in this class for 4 days, it is so intense. First of all, you're in this room with others just at a high energy level. You can feel like the vibration in the room is just times 10, I feel like, then in comparison to our other classes. It being focused on where your monthly goals are for the next year and comparing them to the numbers and just the things that you hit in the previous year. So, everybody's pumped up to do better and bigger and whatever. Nobody's like, I think I'm going to scale it back. So you just feel this vibration and this energy in the room that just brings you up. It's really awesome to surround yourself with other people who have the same mindset, I guess, and they push you. So it was funny as I wrote down like my numbers, for instance, for next year, even though I'm retiring in one respect from, an angle of my career and expanding in another area, I kind of chuckled as I wrote down my number. And then we went on this walkabout, a field trip, if you will, and our coach took us down to the water right in Dana Point on the cliff there. And he told us this interesting story about him and the ocean. And I will never forget this because it was so powerful for me. As we looked at the surface of the ocean, it's calm, it's beautiful. I think there was like a kayaker or two kind of rolling by. The waves are pretty consistent, nothing crazy. But he talked about as he moved there, he wanted to become a surfer. And he says, I got to know this world that was right in front of me that I never explored before this. And I don't know, he's 45, 50, something
47.
Like that. 47. So I don't know. Let's say he started surfing 5 years ago. So he went all this time in his life never really exploring the world under the ocean, if you will. And it was right in front of him that whole time. And so as he said, he became obsessed with surfing. He was going to learn the ocean and the world beneath the surface that he had never known. And as he became this surfer, he came to know this world that was so powerful and impactful on his life that he never realized was staring right in front of him. And all it took was for him to take that first step to jump in, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that too in my, our world, born and raised in Fresno, California. I, have never left. I've never needed to leave. I went straight from high school to beauty school to having a full-time career. And that's amazing. And I love that I had that opportunity. But really, I've never ventured outside of Fresno to see this great big world in front of me. I mean, we have traveled a bit, but nothing to an extent where I can say I really have a good handle on other cultures or lifestyles or anything like that. So to be in Dana Point and watch this ocean and realize I have not even scratched the surface and jumped in at the level that I want to and I know is available to me, that is something that is on my radar for next year. And just exposing myself to so much more than I have allowed myself to be in this little bubble for so long. Yeah. And how much we cut ourselves short in life because it's what we know. So we stay there. And even then we kind of max our capacity in that area and feel like, all right, I had a solid year. But what I want to do is expand my world a ton in comparison to Fresno, California, and reach the masses. And that's what I've had to do through this coaching process is expand beyond my little 3x5 mat I work in for 10-hour days in the salon. And I love being able to touch the life in my chair, but I'm limited to so many clients a day and that small space. And with coaching, I'm able to reach the masses worldwide and experience something like I've never known before. And for that, I'm super excited. And that story just set with me. I will never forget it, honestly. It just like brought this whole new vision to my future. Mm-hmm. And for that, I'm really excited. And I get to do that with you, which is great. So it was super powerful for us to experience that together, I feel like. And coming home and implementing that right away is, don't be so simple-minded and mm-hmm. step outside of your comfort zone to embrace things that you don't know and make it your new world.
Yeah.
So that was hit home for me.
Yeah, on the same field trip we went on, we stood at this on top of the park where we kind of overlooked all the homes and they live in, and their homes anywhere from $10 to $100 million. And him and his wife, when they moved there, they went to that spot. There was no homes there, it was just dirt. And they looked at each other and they go, who do we have to become to live here?
Yeah.
And that was something that you get so comfortable in your hometown. You get so comfortable with your job, all those kind of things. And sometimes you think certain things aren't possible. You know what I'm saying? Like living in a $10 million home, all those things might not be possible. But it's just a simple thought of like, who do I have to become to live there, or to drive that car, or to have that marriage, or to have that body? Who do I have to become? Mm-hmm. And it's a real simple question, but then it takes you being disciplined and showing up every day. Like it took our coach, when they first moved there, it took him almost 10, 12 years to move into that neighborhood before he actually did it. But mm-hmm. he did it, and he became that person. And that was a really cool experience because like a lot of people don't ask those questions, and you see the homes every day, you see the beach homes, you see the cars. It's like, instead of saying, man, I wish I had that car, be like, what do I have to do to have that car, or to have that wife, or to have that body? It's just simple mind switch. And it was something that for me, I get stuck in my scarcity mindset of like, I can never have that. That won't happen to me, whatever it might be, like almost like a pity party, where the class just kind of reframed all that and was like, no, you can have this. It's just how obsessed do you want to come, how obsessed do you want to become to get that? Mm-hmm. And that was one thing where in the class we were in, it was all of my coaches' one-on-one clients that pay $500,000 a year to actually work with them for a year. And I remember sitting there the first day being like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing here? You know, our coach asked us to come, and after the first day I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, I see, like, this is possible. Mm-hmm. And,
but I mean, that goes back to the same thing I'm saying, is you almost wonder, how am I in this world? How am I in this room? But then when you look at what is possible for your life, you understand really quickly why I'm in this room, because I am willing to do what it takes to get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And I have the proof of that because of what I did in this last year, or the year before that, or whatever. You know, building my NBR business, for instance, I'm a freak of nature, and I understand that in the world of hair. But I had this goal that in 1 year I was going to establish 90 NBR clients. I gave myself 12 months to do it. And I became obsessed with it, obsessed in a good way, to the point where I wasn't going to accept anything less for my life. That was the new goal, and there was plenty of evidence to prove that I could do it. And based upon what I had done in the past. So I took what I knew in those situations, and I inserted it into a world that I didn't know of NBR, and it became who I was. And it really took little effort at all to get there once I did what I knew. But when you're going into a place where you don't know what you're doing, and then you sit in that scarcity mindset and let that be debilitating, I could have never hit my number of 90 clients in a year. And actually, I did it in 11 months, which I felt was super powerful, to sit back and say, I did that. I did that during a recession, too, in 2020. So it's something that speaks volumes when you turn and look at the progress you've had in a year, even though it doesn't seem like that much in the time frame. When you look at who you were at the beginning of the year to the end of the year, it was like, whoa, I'm not even the same person. And same thing, what you're saying is like, you have to become a different person to hit your goals if they are that big. And so when I chuckled at the goal that I wrote down, I came back from this walkabout or a field trip and I doubled my number because I was like, you know what? I can do that because I have done that. Maybe not in this, business or whatever. Yes, this is unknown, but I can become good at this just like I am good at hair if I want to become obsessed with the end goal and not cutting myself short. And a lot of people do that out of comfort. And I know that we did that in our marriage for so long. And we're not just talking about materialistic things. It doesn't have to be a house or a car or even a lifestyle. But for Mark and I, we invested so much time and energy in our marriage and weren't going to accept anything less than what we wanted this year. And that really became an obsession for us. We made a conscious effort to make sure we communicated and connected, and we're working on that because we had an end goal, and that was honestly just to be better than we were. And now it's 10 times better. I can honestly say that, and I don't know that I could have a year ago. Yeah, or I know I couldn't have.
That's something that we realized and we talked about on this trip. Is we were like, most couples will never put this much time and energy into their marriage or into themselves because one, it's time consuming. Two, it's hard because you can always make things good, but to make things great, you got to like, the best way I can describe it is like, I knew I had a wound under my bandage. So I took the bandage off, but I didn't realize how deep the wound was. Yeah. And I kept cleaning it and cleaning it and cleaning it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I done yet, God? Nope. You still got to work on this. Yeah. And it caused so much stress and pain in our marriage, but it was a good kind of pain. It was kind of weird. It was one of those things where it was a pain that needed to be released and cleaned. And I would say that we're like 99% of the way there where, that pain has healed itself because of the work that I've been doing, because of the work that we've been doing together, by going to these classes, by doing these things on a daily basis, by going on date nights, by connecting. And mind you, this is all with having 3 kids, and our third kid is like 15 months old. So it's like, it can be possible, which is funny. A couple years ago, I'd be like, dude, having a baby and all that is not possible to be as connected having a baby because of how they sleep and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, dude, you can be connected no matter what age the baby is or the kids are or what's going on. It's all about how much effort and time you want to put into the relationship, and that you want to make it grow.
To add on to that, it was funny in the class we were talking about just being unshakable. And in the midst of the chaos of the storm, let's go back to 2020 when things were just all over the place as far as business goes. My marriage was so rocky and unstable that I clung to the business that was chaotic because that I felt like I could control in some way, shape, or form. I could not control the shitstorm at home. And now, 3 years later, Mark and I have worked so hard on creating this solid foundation for our marriage where I can truly say going through that work makes me feel like we have a solid foundation that is unshakable. No matter what the chaos in the world is, us both changing our careers at the same time in the same year does not make sense to most people. I get that. But we are clinging so tight to this unshakable foundation within our balance of our life, within our marriage, that allows us to have the force and the power to do the other things that we maybe wouldn't have been able to do. I know we wouldn't have been able to do this in 2020 when our marriage was rocky as heck. But now I feel differently about it. But, you go in these cycles where it's like, okay, this year our focus was our balance, where next year our focus is our business. But really, it's not our business. What's being linked to that is our being and serving our calling. And this is another thing that I took away from this class that changed my perspective on everything. And I'm going to use my hands right now, but he drew a diagram on the board that was so significant to me and where I'm at right now. Is he wrote the word scarcity and drew a line over it, and then he wrote the word abundance, and then drew a line over that and wrote the word prosperity. And next to abundance, he wrote the word risk. When you are jumping from scarcity to abundance, there's not much risk there, because in scarcity, you're only going up to abundance, right? But when you're jumping from abundance to prosperity, if you don't go, you drop down into scarcity. And so a lot of times people don't make the jump from abundance to prosperity because of the mindset of, I might lose what I have worked for to be in abundance. So they stay right in that abundance safe line. And that was the pull for me to do this coaching business was so deep within my soul, because I know it's God's calling on my life. But the drawback for me also was risking the abundance in the lifestyle that we've been able to provide by having our career paths the way that they have. So deciding that you are surrendering that suffering of the risk, that scarcity that just sits in your mind of, if I do this, then this could happen. You have to fully surrender that to God and be completely committed and obsessed with that prosperity goal. Because if you don't jump, the risk is that you stay there, and then you're naturally going to fall back into that scarcity mindset. It just is bound to happen, because that's how people are in the realm of comfort. And so for me, this diagram from scarcity, abundance, prosperity, risk made so much sense and connected all the dots for me of why I've been feeling this draw and then like this pull and push. It has been really interesting to fully surrender that to God, how freeing that is. And now in this process, I've been able to embrace that. And it's like, I know the risk. I'm fully aware of it. And I've already made the commitment that I'm choosing my calling over the scarcity mindset of living in risk. And we're just going for it. So I know that who I am as a coach is somebody different and a completely different identity than who I was as a stylist and as a salon owner. I will always be a stylist. I will always be a salon owner, but now I'm adding another layer to that, and that is intimidating when you don't know that. It's somebody different. And so I've had to completely surrender that to God to move forward. And I feel like, as funny as it is, you live in this pain of suffering, really. Suffering is not a good place to be in, but I'm running to the pain of growth to make this jump. And I would rather endure pain that's self-induced than this place of suffering that is a choice ultimately, but it's also a choice to move on from. So that's where I'm at right now. And I feel like God put over my heart that 2024 is just the rebirthing of me as a new identity.
Yeah. No, I'm going to piggyback off that, because mine was become obsessed with things that I want, not that I need. Because when you need something, you become like, it's your God. It's like you have to have that when you want something. It's like in
desperation.
Yeah, desperation. Almost. Yeah. And it's like, like your wife, like, you don't need your wife. You should want your wife. Because when you're you become needy. You become like another child to your wife, and you become whiny, and you become emotional, and all those things. And I was that for a lot of years. I'm still that a little bit. And there was another story of this guy in our class. He's a coach, and we go on another walk and talk, and I'm kind of sitting in the back. I don't have a partner, and he's like, "Yeah, I just closed the guy right now at lunch for $500,000 for the year for one-on-one coaching." I kind of walk up to him. I say, "What's going on?" He said, "Yeah, I just closed this guy for $500,000 for the year." And I was like, "Oh, that's wow." And he said it kind of like he wasn't
nonchalant.
Like he wasn't too pumped. He wasn't too whatever. And so I said, "What did you start out charging this year?" He's like, $30,000 for out front. And I said, "You're telling me that you charged $30,000 in January, and now you're charging $500,000 in the year?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was just like, kind of crazy. And what's funny is all the guys are in the coaching realm. They all do very well financially. They have a lot of clients, but they were asking him like, "Hey, like how'd you do it?" He's like, "The same way I did the $30,000 one, the same way I did this." Right. And he said, you have to become obsessed with being the best version of yourself in all areas. And that was the big thing for me, is that I have to really love the boringness of the day. Get up every morning at the same time, do my core four, do my meditation, go to the gym, reach out to people, all those things. Just enjoy the boringness, because that's what gives you your want, and that's what gives you peace. And I used to search for things in alcohol or in hanging out with the buddies or and things that were like Netflix shows, that things that didn't have any
substance.
Yeah, they didn't have any substance to them. And now I'm like, okay, if I want to get to the next level and have true freedom in life, not just be happy, but have true freedom, I have to live with substance, and I have to pour into people with substance. And that was a big thing for me, is that I was like always trying to make myself happy. And then at the end of the day, it's like, no, it's not really about making me happy. It's about how much value can I add to the world, and how much value can I add to myself for God. That was the big thing. And to become obsessed with my goals that I have at the end of the year. And if you say them out loud and you're kind of embarrassed, then you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Like, that was the big thing where, like, people are saying their stuff and they're like, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's like, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's because it makes you uncomfortable.
Well, and our coach even said, if you can't believe you're saying that, dream bigger. I'm like, oh gosh, that hit me, because I kind of chuckled when I wrote the number, but then as I was like dissecting it, I'm like, you know what? That's not that big of a deal. I have done that before. I can do that again. It's just in something I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to learn, and I'm going to become obsessed with it and be really dang good at it.
Well, it's funny because I actually took out my calculator when we went down to the beach and saw the homes. I'm like, okay, gotta make, like $10 million. I paid this much for my house in Clovis. I was like doing the math on like what my mortgage would be. I was like, oh my gosh, my mortgage would almost be like $90,000 a month. I'm like, a month.
A little different than the world we live in.
And I was like, man, that's who I have to become to live there, is to $90,000 a month in a mortgage. And what's crazy is like, it kind of like a part of my brain was like, nah, probably not gonna happen then. But a majority part of my brain was like, okay, like, what do I have to do to get there? Whereas most people would be like, no, just, dude, like,
do simple.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you have a good life, you have a nice home, you have all these things. Like, why do this? And it was one of those things where, because I want more. I don't need it. I want it.
Yeah. And, for myself, it was hard as we were doing this exercise and looking around at these beautiful homes and this beautiful place and all of that. That really wasn't anything that motivated me. Yes, they are gorgeous, and I think it's an incredible lifestyle for sure. But all I could keep, all that I kept going back to was people. Is my number is people. And so as I wrote a financial number down, I kind of chuckled. But really, at the end of the day, the vision God gave me was this stage where I called my team on stage. It was this group of women. I don't know what their faces were, but they walked across the stage and had white blazers on. And we were in an auditorium of some sort. And as I looked out into the crowd, there were so many people that I could not see faces. It was like this pixelated picture. And I just became so, engaged with the number of people, that the stuff or the things or the homes or the cars wasn't what is the draw for me, or is not the draw for me. It really, at the end of the day, is the people. And the same gentleman that Mark's talking about that closed this client for $500,000, he was saying for him, prosperity isn't enough. He's like, I want beyond that, because beyond that is like serving the true calling of God, that it doesn't matter all those things or even a number of people. It's like, that's the realm I want to be in. And I think for myself a little bit the same way, because I do want to alter lives and impact lives, as I know God's called me to do, just by using my own life to lead people. And to know I have to lead from where I live is in a different kind of accountability than a group or a coach can even offer you. That comes down to your own self-inventory and looking yourself in the mirror every day and say, am I doing everything I can to be the person that I want to be?
Yeah, and I think that's what's different about our coaching programs, is that we actually are living it. Like, we have lived it. Like, we're our avatar, the person that we our client that we go after, is people that are in the same situation that we've been in, and that we've struggled with, and that we've done the work, and that we're doing the work. That's what's different about our coaching programs compared to a lot of others, is that, they teach you on business or whatever, but we're like hitting all the areas, and we're doing the work too. We're doing the stacking. We're getting up doing the core 4. we're doing date nights, we're investing in our education, we're investing in coaching, we're doing all those things. And that's our real passion. That's why we got into it. It wasn't for the money. It wasn't for freedom or whatever, or for more free time, but it was to serve God and the purpose that He has for us. And we realized in July that how small we were playing just in our circle. And that's what our coach kind of woke us up to. He said, hey, if you accept this calling, what that looks like is that you at 90 years old stand on top of a mountain, you guys together, and looking down into the valley and seeing a bunch of lights move around, like thousands of lights move around. And those are all the people that you have blessed and led because God has called you to. And that was like a real like, oh man, we have been playing way too small. And that wasn't a bad thing, because I think that we had to do that. We had to learn. We had to go through the growing pains of opening a salon, clothing stores, a couple homes, kids, fighting, our marriage not working out, right? Like emotional things with me and just all these things. And it's like we had to go through that because that's our testimony. And now we have to be open about it and talk about it, because that's the only way that people are going to know and people that are going to change. And that's one thing this coaching program has taught us is like, hey, nothing's sacred anymore. Like you have to just, if you want to go on this coaching thing, you have to tell people everything.
You're exposing your life at a different level, for sure. Because
that's how you make connections with people. And so that was the biggest thing, because everyone has their story. Everyone's going through something. And Bree's right. Like looking at those homes, it's amazing and all that. But at the same point, it's like, okay, who do I have to become to live here? But then at the same time, how many lives will be changed if I live here? Like how many men and women are Bree and I are going to coach and talk to and bless and change marriages, change lives for us to live here. Like that's pretty cool to think about.
Well, I know just from where we have been, like Mark listed off a lot of the things that we've gone through in our marriage alone. And it was funny when we first got married and opened our salon, we got our first tax bill, and Mark and I were like, we've never even had that much money in our bank account at one time. Like, what do you mean we owe this much in taxes? And something that we thought we would never get through, like, oh my gosh, I remember crying my eyes out. Like, how can this be? How did we live so stupid? We didn't know. Why didn't we seek counsel sooner? Whatever. And it's like, you know what? Then we got over the tears and realized what we had to save per day so that we wouldn't be late on that payment. And we did it. And it's like the same little simple mind I had then to pay off a $30,000 tax bill, I use in this process of a much bigger, obstacle in front of me. I use that same, tap into that, the tools I use there, obviously now with more experience, more knowledge, more wisdom, more discernment, right? And I attack it differently from this angle, but still going back down to the foundational things that are so important for us to move forward. And for Mark and I, like I said, last year was like really our marriage. And, this year is completely shifting our careers, but really tapping into serving our calling. And that falls under the being category. And why our coaching program is so different is because we want to create balance across the board in your body, being balance in business. And it was a struggle for me at times to realize, wait, I could really have it all. That's an option for me. And because you think, okay, this year's the focus is business, so these things have to be, lacking over here. But really, when you are disciplined the way that we are talking, when you live according to this lifestyle, you can create balance across the board in all four areas, and you really can have it all. To what magnitude? That's your choice.
Yeah. You just have to love the boring, and I've been doing it now for a year. It's not really boring. It sounds boring, but it's actually very fulfilling and very satisfying.
Yeah.
Like to get up at the same time every day, not wake up hungover or a little bit of a stinger from alcohol, and to be able to wake up the same day, meditate, stack, go to the gym, eat good, like have a marriage where you're communicating, you're having sex, you're like laughing, having kids that you love on, having a job that you like enjoy, and you're like changing lives for a purpose. Yeah, there's bad days and good days, but like that sounds like, and just start over. And the most successful people find peace in doing this, in doing boring, in doing the same thing every day. Yeah. And once you find that peace, it's actually really enjoyable. And like, I love it. And I was just telling my client right now before this, I said, I love my routine so much when we go out of town and bring my own coffee pot. Like, because I'm up so early and the coffee shops don't open typically till a little bit later. So I bring my own coffee pot just for I can stay on schedule. Yeah. Like I do at home. And I say, because I love my morning routine, and there's so many excuses that you can have. Like we were out of town last week, and our baby wouldn't go to sleep one night. I'm out there at 12:30 in the morning. I'm walking her through the valet, and I'm like screaming at her, like, go to sleep, and it's terrible. But then I was like, well, my class doesn't start till 9. I could sleep in till 7:30. Everyone would understand. I'd get it. I was like almost justifying it in my mind. And then I was like, nope. So I got up at my 4:45, got up, did that. And I'm so glad I did, because I love it. I find peace in it, and I see the benefits of it. And my clients that I work with, they start seeing it, and they love the everyday knowing what you're going to expect and what you're going to do, because that creates certainty in your life, which certainty creates prosperity, which gives you peace and freedom. And that's what I'm going after. I used to think I was going after being happy, which being happy is great, but I want freedom. I want freedom in my body. I want freedom in my marriage. I want freedom in my business. And I want freedom in my relationship with God.
Yeah, and the truth is, to create freedom, sometimes it ain't always happy, right?
Yep.
So, I think that all these things were life-altering for us, and we needed to hear them in the state of mind that we're in right now. If I would have heard this 8 months ago, 3 months ago even, I probably wouldn't have received it the way that I did. So I'm so grateful that we created this space. It was not the ideal time for us to be there, but the sacrifice our family made to make this possible for us, there were a lot of people involved to make it happen, but you just do it. And really the trade-off at the end of it is I would be more mad at myself if I didn't make the extensive effort to go through this, to do it, had I known what I would be missing. So we just made the choice and the commitment and went for it. And that's, I think, how we have, I know that is how we have treated this class as a non-negotiable, because it is altering who we are as people and making us better. Yeah. I've never went down to Dana Point and spent the 2 days there and came back and be like, wow, I didn't get anything out of that. Every time I'm like, oh my gosh, I just keep growing, and my mind is blown every time with some takeaway that I just get to come home and implement into my marriage, my business, just life in general. It's just so powerful. And I know we talk about this class, but what we're wanting to do is now introduce this into our coaching program so that our clients experience that at another level also. So it's not about the class or the coach. It's what you take away from the class and the coach and what you choose to do with it. And for me, I'm fully committed to changing lives and impacting them at a level that I never have done before. This is much greater and on a grander scheme, if you will, and I'm here for it. So that's exciting. I think as we progress in our coaching business and in this class, let's say, to share knowledge with you here is super important to me, and it's recorded and documented. You can go back to it and say, see, I told you that back in episode 14 or whatever. And
Bree's very good at doing that to me.
I'll never let you forget.
Yes.
But anyways, no, I think it's healthy, and it's definitely something that's serving us well. So we hope that you are getting the same from it. Yeah.
No, thank you for tuning in. And if you're on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify or any platform, give us a follow, give us a like. We greatly appreciate it. Yeah. And thanks for tuning in, and have a great day. And talk to you guys next week.
Bye-bye.